Hi, my name's David Vanny, and this is my first video. Hopefully, many more to come. This video is about my personal experiences in dealing with depression and I'm an adult survivor of child sexual abuse. So I talk a little bit about that, about the abuse and how it affected my life and still affects my life, and about depression, which is a big part of that, and what my experiences have been and how I've dealt with that. And hopefully this will help other people. This is a selfish thing. I'm doing this for myself because it's helping me to talk about it. But in that process, maybe I can help other people, at least for them to hear my experience, might help them. But just I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not educated in any kind of medical stuff or psychology, psychiatry, anything like that. This is not. Come here if you want some, medical advice. I'm not that person. This is just my personal experience. So I will talk about medication and how I've dealt with my depression, but it's not coming from a place of being a professional. Just want to get that out there so that people don't get the wrong idea. And I talk about in this video that you need to get help. This I'm not going to help. I mean, this might be helpful, but if you've suffered from chronic depression or you're a survivor of abuse, you need to get help. There's just no two ways about it. And I'm speaking from experience. I've tried to deal with this stuff on my own, and you can't do it. It's like this, because it's a mental thing. People have an idea that, oh, well, it's mental. You can change your mind. You can work through it. You don't. No. It's a mental thing, but it's a physical thing too, because your body follows your mind. Whatever your mind tells the body to do, the body's going to do. So if you're having problems in your brain, it's going to affect your body. So if you broke your leg and you're sitting there on the ground with the bone sticking out, you're not going to say, oh, I'll work through this. We'll work this out. No, you're going to get help. Well, it's the same thing, but for some reason, because it's a mental thing, there's this stigma that still surrounds, mental health to this day, which I find astonishing, because you need to get help. It's a problem just like anything else. So, if you're struggling in any of these ways, get help. And it could just be talking to somebody who you feel comfortable talking with, or going out and seeking professional help, or talking to a spiritual leader. But get help. That's all. That's the one thing. If you get anything out of this, get that from it. And you cannot, and I'm sure there's probably some people who have, but there's so many varying degrees of abuse and depression that I think most people will agree you cannot do it on your own. I've tried. I have tried. Believe me, I've tried to do this stuff on my own, and I can't. I'm a very stubborn person, and so asking for help is not easy for me. So I try to do things on my own, even if I have no idea what I'm doing. I think I can figure it out. right? But you can't always figure things out. Just and getting help speeds up the process. When you try to do it on your own, it's a much longer, drawn out process because you're trying to figure stuff out. Whereas you can go somebody who's been there, who's been through it, who understands what it is. They're going to give you shortcuts and help speed up the process. And it's not something you can do quickly. So get ready for the long haul and take it one step at a time, one day at a time. So anyway, this is my first video, and this is just an intro to the actual video that I did yesterday, and you'll see I look a lot different. I was in a deep, dark place at the time, but I felt I needed to do this, and so I just did it. It's very raw, very emotional, and it's a little scary for me to put that out into the world, but I feel this is something I have to do. So I considered editing it, taking out some of the emotional stuff so that it's much cleaner and easier to watch. But you know what? This is it. This is it. This is the real world. This is the reality. It's raw and it's what it is. And get out of it what you can, or if it's uncomfortable, turn it off. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'm new to this, so if you have any suggestions or comments, please let me know. I can use the help. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hello. This is a video. My name is David, and just thought I'd make a little video here about I don't know what it's about. I guess dealing with depression, which is been a real struggle. So lately I've been doing a lot of writing, and it's been helping me. And I think the thing that helps me is just talking about it, whether in written form or vocal, seems to help. So that's why I'm doing this. So I have a poem here that I wrote, and but I want to talk about it before I read it. This poem it describes my addiction, if you will, to the darkness. And let me kind of tell you what I mean by that. So I've suffered from depression for most of my life, since I was about 8 years old. And when I say, most of my life, well, I'm 58, so that's 50 years. 50 years of dealing with depression. Most of this depression stems from the sexual abuse that I suffered as a child from the time I was about 8 until I was about 11. A lot of this abuse I had no clue about because the memories were repressed, and it's only been maybe the last 10 years that I've actually been dealing with the abuse. Before that, I was fucked up and I didn't know why. And I would see therapists and doctors, and I would do self-help books and Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey, and I tried spirituality and religion and drugs and medication and you name it. I've been down every freaking road you can imagine, and I keep ending up back in the same place. And what I realized was, all that stuff is great. Self-help, all those things, positive attitude, positive affirmations, the conversation that you have with yourself is extremely important because it will damage you. Believe me, I know. The problem is if you've been abused, then the recordings that keep replaying are negative recordings. So you're constantly reaffirming that. So in trying to dig yourself out of the hole of depression and you're beating yourself up at the same time, well, guess what? It's tough to get out of that hole. And that's where other things come in, why people get addicted to drugs or alcohol or whatever the addiction is. It's a way to mask the pain or hide from it. So I've been around depression my whole life, and I've tried a lot of different things. And one of the things I realized was that there is a core issue, and until you deal with that core issue, everything is a band-aid. And eventually the wound abscesses and the band-aid falls off and it erupts. So like I say, I tried self-help and it worked. It was great, man. I believed in it and I followed it. I did whatever they said to do and it worked for a while. But eventually, because I was not dealing with the core issue, eventually all that stuff just fell away because the core came back to bite. So I knew there was an issue that I wasn't aware of or that I wasn't conscious of. And I had been seeing this one therapist and we were doing hypnotism or something, and I was describing what I was seeing, and basically I came up to this wall and she asked me, what's on the other side of the wall? I said, I have no idea. All I know is I don't want to know. Whatever's there, I don't want to know what it is. So I knew it was bad. And she tried to help me, and I was like, there's no way I'm going there. There's just no way. And I tried to work around it, but it kept coming back and kept coming back. And I think I was just tired of ending up in the same place all the time. And then what happened was my son was about the age that I was, and he looked just like I did at that age, 8, 9 years old. And so it triggered some memories, and I didn't understand. I had some weird dreams, and I would have these weird memories, and I'm like, this is not real. It's not. It's just my imagination, because they were horrible. But I kept working on it, and I kept writing. Writing seems to help me. Everybody has a different outlet. Mine was writing, and then I was doing a lot of art therapy. I was up late one night and was just done. I was done, and I just stopped and said, let me see what I need to see. I just basically opened myself up to whatever was there. And it was a pretty intense experience, and these images started coming to me rapid fire, one after another, and it was like physical. Like each memory was like a punch in the face. There was a punch in my chest. It was boom, boom, boom. And was pretty intense. And so, oh boy, I got to see what I was missing all these years. And I couldn't function for a while after that because it was just so, it was way worse than anything I would have imagined that happened to me. Um, and there was so much of it. It wasn't just one incident or two incidents or one person. It was a myriad of instances and abusers. And like I said, it from what I remember, from the time I was about 8 till about 11, anywhere from a school teacher to a priest to a family member to a dentist to, I mean, and there's so much that I don't remember because it was just too much. I could only take so much. Anyway, so the only good thing about that is, okay, now I know why I'm so fucked up. And now that I know why, I can work on it. Well, it's easier said than done. It's very difficult to work on, and you really need professional help or spiritual help or somebody to help you. Most likely somebody who's been through it. I'm still going through it, and just trying to come to terms with what happened. Not just what happened, but the volume of what happened. And then there's still that part of me, and I've been working with someone that's just in total denial. And I went through denial for years because like, this didn't happen. That's crazy. That's crazy shit. You know, I thought I was just making it up so I had an excuse for why I was fucked up. I'm just making this shit up. But the images are too powerful. Nobody would make this shit up. So, I'm sorry, but I'm doing the best I can with this. Where was I? So, I'm just working on it. And again, writing helps for me, and I found that I started posting some of the writing on some of these writing sites, and that helps. It helps to helps with the denial because I'm putting it out there, so it's harder to deny it. And it just helps because it's like a disinfectant. You're bringing the truth out to the light, and kind of it's takes away the power of what happened. And it's tough because some of these websites, I mean, some of these writing sites, it's too intense for people, and I get it. But I'm not making this shit up just to get people to read my stuff. It's real shit. Some of them don't like us. Sometimes I have an issue with religion because of what happened to me. So I make statements about religion that, oh, you can't talk about religion and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, fuck you then. I'll go somewhere else because I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to get a response. I'm trying to heal. And this is shit that happened. I'm not, this is the real world. Anyway, so to get back to what I was talking about, the darkness. So, I've suffered depression my whole life, never knew why. Never, obviously when I was younger, I didn't even know what it was. I just thought, everybody feels like this. I'm just not good at dealing with it. Like other people get depressed and they snap out of it, they move on, they change their attitude or whatever. And I just can't. I'm not good at it. I'm a failure at depression. Well, as I got older and learned, no, there's more to it than that. So there's different kinds of depression's normal. There's different kinds of depression. We all get depressed. But people that have chronic depression, where it's debilitating, that's a different kind of depression. We all get depressed, and most of the time, our body's chemicals and electrical reactions in the brain, and I'm diagnosed as bipolar, which is another one is word is description is manic depressive, which you have mania and you have depression. You alternate between the two. Well, the thing with that is so when you have depression, your body releases a chemical in your brain that helps you to come out of it. It's like an adrenaline. It's a norepinephrine. I can't remember the other one. With someone who's depressed, their body's chemicals don't make the chemicals, or it doesn't release the chemicals, or whatever. So it's not just a matter of changing your attitude. I mean, it's a physical thing as well as a mental thing. With manic depression, your body makes the chemical, but it doesn't release it. It stores it. It stores a lot of it. And then it lets it all out at once. So hence the mania. So you go from being in the deepest, darkest hole to I can fucking do anything. And it's a drug. It can almost be a drug, because when I started doing medication, I missed that high. I missed that, I knew the timing when it was coming. I was like, kind of, you learn to work your life around it. And I knew when the highs were going to come, and I could make up for the lows, but it doesn't work that way. You need a steady, even keel, because the problem with those big highs is there's a big low right around the corner. And so you kind of live in fear, because you don't want to feel too good, because when you feel bad, the bad is going to feel worse if you're feeling too good. So it creates a lot of problems, and it creates problems in your life, financially, emotionally, on all levels. I was medicated. I was on medication for many, 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 many years. I've been off it for a couple of years now. I was probably on medication for close to 30 years. And it worked. For me, what I tell people about medication, you need to find the right doctor who knows what he's doing, for one. Don't just go to any doctor, because a lot of doctors don't understand these powerful medications, and they tend to underprescribe because they're kind of afraid of them. So you got to go to a doctor who really knows his shit, and he knows what to prescribe, and how to look for the highs and the lows, and how to adjust. At the time, I went to what they call a psychopharmacologist, who basically deals with the chemical aspects of psychology of the brain. This guy, he's no longer with us. He was a great doctor at Stanford University. His name was Dr. Berger. He wrote a lot of papers on it. Anyway, I don't know how I'm getting emotional thinking about him, but I found him somehow, and I went to see him, and so we were able to get on the right medication, the right dose, in a pretty rapid manner. What happens with a lot of people is either the side effects are too much, or they're not getting the results, and they just stop taking it. So if you have a doctor who knows what's going on, they can get to the quality core of getting you better in a quicker fashion, so that you don't get discouraged. But medication is not the be all and end all. It's only a part of it. You need both. And I always tell people, you can't just take a pill and everything goes away. The problems are still there. You still got to deal with the problems. What the medication does is it gets you to a point where you can function normally, and now you can deal with the issues. You still need to deal with the underlying core issues that that are causing the depression to become chronic. For me, obviously it was the abuse, but it can be, there's a lot of different things that can cause it. And there are physical things that can cause depression. So one of the things I did before I went to the Dr. Berger was I went and I had a complete physical, because I wanted to make sure I didn't have any physical problems that was causing the depression. Therefore, the medication isn't going to help me because I have a physical problem. And I did a lot of reading, and people had back problems or other chronic problems was causing their depression, and they fixed the physical problem, and the mental problem went away. And I'm sure it happens the other way too, whereas the mental problems can cause physical problems. But so I got that. I was young at the time, so I was very healthy physically. But I just wanted to be sure there wasn't something else going on. So just eliminate those possibilities that can create problems down the road. So my focus was on the medication for the depression, or the bipolar depression. Just a little small note, I haven't had a manic episode in, I guess, since I started taking the medication, 30 years. But I still get the depression, the deep, deep, deep depression. But the mania hasn't occurred, which is like kind of the fun of the, not the fun, but the, when you were in the depression, you knew you were going to get that hit. It was like, okay, I know it's coming, but now I'm not even getting the fun part. So kind of sucks, but it's better because I'm on a more even keel, and I've been off the meds for a couple years now, and I've been functioning pretty well. It's just recently that I've been struggling, and maybe I need to go back to the meds. But I've had so much experience with depression that I recognize it, and I recognize the things that I do that make it worse, so I don't do those things. And that's kind of what I was going to talk about in this video, because one of the things is the darkness, which is the place that I like to go to. And it sounds really kind of weird, because who wants to be in the darkness? Who wants to be in that cold, lonely place? But if you suffered from depression for 50 years, that's a known place. I know how it works. I know how it goes. I know how things play out. I know the rules, and so I think after about 30 years, I found this strange thing happening where I found comfort in that darkness. So kind of to understand, it's like the thing that we fear the most is the unknown. So when you're trying to heal, feeling good is the unknown. Being healthy is unknown. That's scary, even though that's what you want. It's scary because it's unknown. You don't know. I mean, you may know some of it, but me, I'm an extreme case, but it's the unknown that we tend to shy away from, that we tend to fear. That's why I say the darkness. I feel comfortable there. I've been there so much, my whole life. Off and on. I would say I've suffered periods of, normal depression lasts a week. 2 weeks, you got to start worrying about there's a problem. Anything longer than that, then you definitely have a problem. And I've suffered depression anywhere from periods of 2 weeks to 2 months, where I would completely lose. The problem is, I came out of it. Obviously, I was never prone to suicide, fortunately, so that, probably helped. Otherwise, I probably would have done myself in a long time ago. And that's not a thing to laugh about, but I never really saw that as an option. I think just because I'm stubborn. and I'm just refused to give up. But to be honest, there have been times where I've entertained the thoughts, but not a lot. It's not a place that I generally go to. Anyway, back to the subject. So the unknown is the fear. The unknown is the scary thing. The unknown is what we tend to shy away from and or try to destroy. So I've found in my experience, because going into the depression, became comfortable because it was a known place. It wasn't comfortable by any means. It's not comfortable. I'm not saying it's comfortable, but it became comfortable just because of the fact that it was a known entity, a known place where I knew where I was at, who I could trust, how I was feeling, and that there were no other things that could happen. I know the place, and it's comfortable for me there. And I hate saying that. Every time I say that, I hate saying that. But that's so now when I'm uncomfortable or vulnerable or afraid or whatever, I feel myself drawn to that darkness, and it's almost like curling up in your mom's arms when you were a kid and you felt warm and safe. It's kind of that kind of feeling almost. But it's also the darkness is a place to hide. It's a place where my fears and my doubts and my self-loathing, nobody sees it. It's hidden. I'm not vulnerable. The problem with that is there's also no growth. There's no movement. You're stuck there. There's no getting anything positive from it other than, taking the time for the pain to pass so that you can function again, which is basically what you're doing, or what I'm doing. But ultimately, if you stay there long enough, I believe you would die because you wouldn't function. And I don't mean you would physically die, but you die because unless somebody's giving you money for food and you can't function and go to work and make money to survive and live, you're going to die. And if you're in that place, you don't function, you don't work, you don't live. You see homeless people on the street. They're in that place. They're in that darkness. And that's how they got there, most likely. And some of them are drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever. It's the same thing. I believe the darkness is the ultimate, is the destination for the alcoholic or the drug addict or whatever the addiction is. It's just a vehicle to get to the darkness, whereas a place to hide and shield yourself from your fear and your pain and to kind of escape. So I'm a darkaholic, I guess you could call me. That's kind of a weird thing to say, but I'm trying to deal with that desire to be there, to be in that place, because there's, like I said, there's no growth. There's no. I want to move forward. I want to heal in some way. I'm tired. I'm tired of this. And I've done a lot in my life. I mean, it's not like I've been like this for 50 years. I go through periods of this, but it's not my total existence. And I raced motorcycles for 20 years. And when I look back on it, I'm just astonished that I did what I did, because somebody has very low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and to be in a sport where you need to be confident in your abilities or you're gonna die. I did it. And the this was before I knew about depression. I didn't understand any of that. So that was my drug. The bracing was my drug. It kept me moving forward. It kept me out of trouble because I focused on that. And that was my life. I was dedicated to it. The problem happened when I stopped racing. It's a young man's game, and you get to a certain age, it gets difficult. And I didn't make it obviously to where I wanted to make it, where you make millions of dollars and you're famous and successful. Very few people do that. But I did it, and that was my life. And so when I didn't have it, that's when things got bad. And then I found spirituality and I got engulfed into that, and that became my new sort of addiction. And I was heavily into Native American spirituality. I'm not Native American, but I had a strong connection with the culture, and I was very respectful of the culture. I didn't try to exploit it, but I was an artist, and I did a lot of art that was based on Native American art, and I would sell my artwork, and I would do a lot of these whole life expos back in the day when they were popular, where you go and sell your artwork. But it's also a very spiritual thing, and so I started teaching about spirituality, and mostly it was into the totem animals and the meanings and how to connect with those animals and how they can help you. But that was like a different time for me. And I did start doing some other stuff, spiritual energy clearings, where I would go into people's homes and do ceremonies. And there were some Native American people that didn't like me because I wasn't Native American, and they thought I was just trying to exploit their culture, even though everything I did, I always had the caveat right up front. I am not Native American. I'm not claiming that I'm Native American. I am just connected with this, and I have a strong affinity for it. And so the people that liked me invited me in, and I became part of some of these organizations, and they would invite me to sacred ceremonies, and it was a really cool time in my life. But again, I was not dealing with the core issue. So whether it was the motorcycle racing or the spirituality, I was not connecting with the core issue. So eventually that comes back to haunt me, and so I lost that. Some things happened, and I kind of disconnected from it. It was a painful time for me. Anyway, so again, we find ways to deal with our pain, and some ways are constructive and some are not. And it's the non-constructive ones that we want to avoid, and because you can't heal. So you're constantly running. So you're just going from one thing to the next. It's just like an alcoholic who stops drinking, but he starts doing heroin or something. It's like, yeah, he's not drinking anymore, but he's doing something else, and or the the gambler that starts drinking, or some people have multiple addictions, but or the alcoholic who stops drinking and becomes a religious zealot. It's just a different addiction. And maybe it's more productive, but in the end, you're not dealing with the core. And I firmly believe until you deal with the core, you're just going to keep bouncing back to the. I kept ending up, and I am still ending up. I'm not by no means saying I've found the answers or that I've healed myself. I keep ending up in the same place, and I'm like, okay, and I don't want to keep ending up here. What do I need to do? The problem is if you do something the same for so long, you just have this sort of knee-jerk reaction. So something happens, it triggers it, and you just go there. You don't even, it's not even a conscious thing. You just go there. And that's why addictions are so hard to overcome, because they're comfortable, and it worked. At some time it worked. All of those things work to a certain degree, but eventually they become destructive and they don't work anymore. And so for me, when I suffered from the abuse, I had to survive. So I had to stuff the memories down. I had to basically bury the child under walls of protection so that he didn't get hurt. And that was good. It worked. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived. I would have died. There's no question in my mind. But as an adult, that doesn't work anymore. And so that's where the problem comes in, because I keep reverting back to that. So now I am working on being present, being here, experiencing whatever it is that I need to experience. I'm reconnecting with that child that I thought I was protecting, but really I just imprisoned him. And yeah, he was protected, but he couldn't grow, he couldn't thrive, he couldn't be who he wanted to be. So the things like the racing and the art, I think part of that was the child trying to come out and play. So this is where I'm at. And for some reason, me talking helps. So that's what I'm doing. You know, the person I'm working with, said, ask for help. Whether it's whatever it is that you connect with. Spirit, Jesus, your guide, your inner child, whatever. Ask. And so I did, and this is what the answer that I got. Is that I keep coming back to this place where I feel this need to express my experience, and that it seems to help me. So that's what I'm doing. I had this whole thing written. It was very clean and perfected. I'm a perfectionist. So it was like I was going to read all this and talk about my experience through this, but really it just has to come from within. And it's basically what I wrote, but in a more real way, I guess. So I guess I would have to say I'm a darkaholic, and I'm trying to disconnect from that known. So right now I'm in the unknown. This is the unknown. It's scary. But if it's what I need to do, then it's what I'm going to do. So, either you've gotten some value from this, or I've made you more depressed, which I hope I didn't, but this is shit that's not fun. Anyway, I mean, maybe I need to edit this video and edit out the emotional stuff. But then again, maybe this is what we all need. This is reality. Okay, so I'm going to read my poem. Hopefully I can get through it without getting too emotional. It's called Tethered at the Core. I am tied to the darkness, tethered at the core. I know her so well. She is my melancholy whore, caressing me sweetly. She keeps me away from the door. Quiet and powerful. I don't want to go out anymore. Obscured by the night, I'm safe on its shore. She keeps me coming back, a cruel, heartless refrain. Now I've been here too long, I'm slowly going insane. I cannot escape this blackness, I cannot fight this energy drain. The darkness is a womb. I have found comfort in my pain. Calm, warm, and quiet, I'm like a child again. When I go into the light, I see my pain and my fear. I'm vulnerable and weak. The cost is too dear. The darkness cradles me softly and keeps me right here. When I reside in the darkness, I know that death is always near. Its cold voice speaks to me daily, softly whispered in my ear. So that's the poem. I've got a lot of poems. And that's another thing that, what was I going to say? If you take the word darkness and some other words in this poem and you replace it with alcohol or amphetamine or Oxycontin or gambling or whatever, if you change a few of those words, it makes a lot of sense. It says the same thing. It doesn't matter. The darkness is the same thing. It could be alcohol, it could be whatever. So instead of I'm tied to the darkness, tethered at the core, I'm tied to the bottle, tethered at the core. I know her so well, she's my melancholy whore. Caressing me sweetly, she keeps me away from the door. Powerful and quiet, I don't want to go out anymore. It works with any addiction. So anyway, maybe that helps people. All I can say is, if you don't not getting help, get help. You need help. You can't do it on your own. Believe me, I have tried to do it on my own. You can't. This is one of those things where you need help. And believe me, I've been getting a lot of help over the years. And look, I'm still here, so it's not an easy thing to do. Whether your depression is severe or mild or somewhere in between, talking about it, expressing it, writing about it helps. It just does. So find somebody that you can talk to. Preferably a professional or somebody who's been there, because they're going to understand. Preferably a professional who's been there. Let me put it that way, because I've been in and out of therapy my whole life. And I've been experienced a lot of different therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, MFTs, whatever you want to call them. And some of them were just horrible because they just learned from a book. They learned about it, but they've never been there. They never experienced. And I would know, I'd meet a therapist, and in 15 minutes, I'm like, this guy's a waste of my time. He's just regurgitating a bunch of shit that he learned in college. And I meet another therapist, and I'm like, this dude's been through some shit. That's the guy or the woman that I want to talk to. Because they know. So this is the beginning. And hopefully I'll continue with this and help myself and maybe help some others. If you have any tips or advice on these videos, let me know, because I'm completely clueless. Just trying to speak my truth from my heart. If you made it this far, you're a brave soul.